Hey, what's going on, everybody? This is Tyrone back with Tech Life. And in this video, I wanted to bring up this slideshow again from T-Mobile Capital Markets Day because I feel now this is much more significant than it was prior. I'm not going to get into politics, but you guys, most of you, if not all of you, should have saw the outcome of the election. It's now going to be a Republican administration across the board, the House, the Senate, the president. It's going to be a Republican administration on the FCC side. Republicans, they're pro-business, right? So the M&A space is going to be off the charts, I feel, during this next 4 years. And I think T-Mobile is going to take advantage of that. And that's where you see the additional $20 billion of flexible spend come into play. You see the slideshow here, the Lumos, Metronet, US Cellular, and the additional spectrum purchases T-Mobile has made. That's already funded, and that's where you see the $10 billion off to the left. All the way to the right, the $20 billion flexible spend through 2027, that's $20 billion T-Mobile is setting aside for opportunistic value-creating investments, M&A. They should have just labeled that M&A, merger and acquisition. They are going to be even more opportunistic during this administration. It's pro-consumer. And I feel once they close this US Cellular deal, that's another merger or acquisition, I should say, in the wireless space, there's really not much more for them to get on the wireless side, right? There's still maybe C Spire that they could go for, maybe Viero. They could maybe go for those companies. But for the most part, they've absorbed most of the companies that makes them a better network, a larger network. US Cellular is going to make them a larger network in the rural areas. They will still have to do some work. I acknowledge that. But on the wireless side, there's not much more to get. So what are they currently venturing off into? It's fiber. So during this administration, it's very possible that they actually go for owning and operating fiber, that they go with a merger with a Lumen, a merger and acquisition, depending, right? If the company is smaller, maybe they just do an acquisition. If it's a Lumen, it might have to be a merger. But this administration currently, that's set to take place, January 20th, 2025, it's going to be a Republican administration across the board, and they are pro-business. That's how Republicans generally operate. So I'm not going to get into politics, as I said. I'm just tying that in with the wireless space because T-Mobile has flexible spending, and they want to spend, right? There's a possibility that more spectrum now is going to be put in the pipeline. So T-Mobile has to have money set aside for that as well. Not only M&A, well, technically it is part of M&A because you're acquiring spectrum. So it's all part of M&A. And I think during this administration, the next 4 years through 2029, there's going to be lots of deal announcements. Verizon and AT&T as well. They're going to look at, we got Verizon trying to get Frontier across the finish line. That's now going to be mainly reviewed by a Republican administration. So the chances of that happening and getting approved on the regulatory side are higher now. But Frontier shareholders, that's the iffy part, right? That's the 50-50, where the 50-50 comes in. So we're still waiting for November 13th. But if they say yes and they agree to the terms and the deal, then now under the Republican administration, it's a higher chance of this going through. I saw it in the news that senators are telling FCC that they should stop and pause any reviews of anything until the Republican administration takes place. So just putting that out there. But T-Mobile is going to be even more opportunistic in this type of environment, and so will all businesses. But that's why I wanted to bring up the slideshow so you guys can see that $20 billion flexible spend. They are going to generate, I believe, upwards of $80 billion during this next round of guidance that they just gave us at the Capital Markets Day, and they are going to make use of it. You can see $10 billion is set aside for acquisitions and such that are already taking place, such as Lumos, Metronet, US Cellular, and then the additional spectrum purchases. 50 billion will go back to dividend and shareholders, buybacks and dividend, and then the last 20 billion M&A, right? We're not going to, all of these points that are there, potential deleveraging possible, additional stockholder returns also possible. But I think now under the Republican administration, M&A is probably going to be higher on the priority list with that $20 billion. So let me know your thoughts in the comments. Like, share, subscribe if you're new. Follow my social media outlets. This is Tyrone with Tech Live. See y'all in the next one. Peace.